Okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long time since I've been doing intelligent wrestling talk. I did the last video was on basically the Ultimate Warriors untimely passing. RIP Ultimate Warrior once again. But I've decided to start putting up some videos again, see if I get some responses. And the first video I wanted to do, you know how I love lists by the WWE. But the first one I want to do is the WWE just about, I think it's only 5 days ago or something like that, released its list of the top 50 talkers in WWE history. And I have to say, the reason I came on to speak about this is because one, it's a very, very controversial list, as all WWE lists are on this kind of route. But secondly, it's also very, very surprising as a list to me. Um, I was shocked by some of what went on, and not necessarily in a bad way. Just plain shocked. So I'm going to go into the list, and we'll do the countdown. Um, I might be talking with a friend of mine online a bit later about this. EC, uh, E- ECM Red, ECM Red Sox um, Slipknot, ECM Red Sox Slipknot. He's got a great channel, by the way, guys. So if you want to check that out, it's ECM Red Sox Slipknot. Fantastic channel, actually. And Yeah, you should go and check out some of his videos because he's really got a quite good mind for wrestling. So let's go through the list. The first 150 was one, a surprise that it was on there, and then secondly, a surprise because I don't know if he deserves it or not. And number 50, coming in at number 50 was Scott Steiner. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't really I didn't really get to see a lot of Scott Steiner's return to WWE. I know I used to watch him in the Steiner Brothers, which was great. Great tag team, one of the best tag teams of all time, and one of my favorite tag teams growing up. But I knew him as that, and he didn't really talk much back then. And from what I understood of when he returned, apart from being squashed by Triple H, from what I understood from his return, was that basically he talked in a garbled way, and it was bizarre, and I don't know, because people say this about Ultimate Warrior as well, and I'm a big fan of Ultimate Warrior, and people can go on and say, oh, I'm jumping on a bandwagon now he's passed away. No, you can check my videos before. I was always a big fan of Ultimate Warrior, and I always defended him on his promos. Um, and so I don't know. I'm gonna have to go and look this one up with Scott Steiner. But that was a strange one for me. I just one, because I don't think they're in good like WWE really how political they are with these things, and I don't think they really like Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner's come out and said some really straight up bad things about Triple H, about Shawn Michaels. Again, all the usual suspects and the Golden Boys to Vince McMahon. So I was like, really? One, he's not even supposed to be that good, and then you're actually putting him on, even though there's been all this politics with him and Triple H and how Triple H squashed him. So that was the first surprise. I was just interested more than anything. I can't say if he's real or not. I'm gonna check out his promos. Um, then there was Joel Gertner, who I really don't know, so I'm just gonna move past. Jimmy Valiant, who I listen to and does deserve to be on there. I think he was the one who deserves to be on there. There was a 47 Zeb Coulter. Now, I don't know if they mean this from his old career or if they're talking about his current stuff in the WWE, but Zeb Coulter, to me, I don't find his stuff currently that entertaining in the WWE. He's speaking, but I think he must have got better because I haven't been watching WWE for a bit of time. I think he must have got better because people are really kind of getting into him now. And yeah, so I really don't know. But I thought maybe it was from his past when he was a wrestler when he was younger. But from what I read in the description, it was really talking about now, like Colton now. And the one thing that did crack me up, and not in a good way. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video on this after. Actually, it's kind of interesting video to do about like sexual. I don't know. I'm trying to be really, really super politically correct about sexual orientation and its depiction or how it's presented in the WWE. That's the next video I'm going to do. There was a really interesting kind of debate that happened between. Well, it wasn't really a debate, more of Bruce Blitz and the Bruce Blitz team really going off on one against people who were saying that Mad Genius was being homophobic for not liking Adam Rose. And I just, well, you'll see what I think in the video. But I thought the funniest thing I've recently seen was Zeb Coulter and Zeb Coulter and this Adam Rose character who is just he's the kind of thing that is the reason why I don't watch wrestling anymore. It's like I can't be bothered with that kind of bullshit. I mean, but yeah. So Adam Rose, yeah, like Vince McMahon wonders why he's lost 650 million. I think 750 million over the last couple of weeks with the launch of the network. I mean, the guy's crazy. He thinks he can literally control people's minds, and that's his problem. He doesn't understand that he really can't. Alright, guys, give me a second. Hello? Yeah, I'll open the door. I'll open the door. Okay? Text me when you're at the door. Text me when you're at the door. Right, thanks. Bye. Yeah, bye. I'm really sorry about that, guys. This is why I always switch off my phone when I'm doing this. So, accidentally put on my phone. So, where were we? Yeah, I saw this thing with Zeb Coulter and Adam Rose, and the one thing I'll give Zeb Coulter is his reaction to it was priceless. It was exactly what I was thinking in my head when I saw the Adam Rose character. Just like, what the, like just taken some acid or something like that, and you just, what is that doing on a wrestling program? And I'm going to go into that in this next video when I discuss about these kind of representations of kind of, like Gold Dust and Bill and Chuck and stuff like that in terms of how homosexuals are depicted in WWE. So yeah, So there's that. Um, or how homosexuality is presented in the WWE, I should say, because he's not necessarily a homosexual character. We do not know that. Neither was Goldust. So it's just how it kind of presented. And yeah, we'll speak about that. So the next one after Zeb Coulter was Jimmy Valiant. Again, don't know. There's Joel Gertner. Again, don't know. Oh, sorry, I'm going backwards. So after Zeb Coulter was New Jack. New Jack was amazing on the mic. Not my favorite wrestler, but I think he's one of the best black wrestlers of all time in terms of his mic work. And I think he could have been a star in WWE in the Attitude Era. He may have been a little bit too hardcore, but if they had have just dialed him back a bit, I think he really could have worked in the Attitude Era. As a solid mid card, act. Some, they say even you never know how someone can develop over time, develop their kind of skill over time. But some may say, okay, well, he had the charisma, so maybe after like I don't know 5 years, maybe during the ruthless aggression era, he could have been given some kind of little championship reign. But New Jack was amazing in the mic. No, what I love is originality, and when someone can amplify who they are as themselves. I always find that really, really great. And he certainly could do that. And he's one of the few black guys on this list that actually deserves to be on the list. And again, another shocking addition to this WWE list. I personally would put New Jack higher, but I'm surprised that WWE even acknowledged New Jack at all and are acknowledging ECW. I don't know if this is something to do with the launch of the network and they're trying to. I don't know. It's just weird. Like this list it's bad, but it's nowhere near as bad as like previous lists. It's kind of almost spooky. Like I don't think WWE even did this. So then we've got the number 45, which is the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. I didn't watch enough of him, but I remember seeing him and I thought he was kind of creepy. I don't really like him so much. Number 44, Brian Pillman. Love Brian Pillman. Again, another surprise one on the list. Not as surprising, but another surprise one on the list. But a good addition. Brian Pillman definitely deserves to be on it. John Bradshaw Layfield. Not the biggest fan of Bradshaw, as we know. He was good on the mic, but I don't know if it was. Put it this way. He was good on the mic, but he didn't make you want to watch his matches. It was like being good for nothing. And it also was irritating. And he had a stupid face, and you didn't like looking at him. And I guess you can say that makes a great heel. And I always get in this debate. And even the WWE recognizes it. There's good heat and there's bad heat. And I really think Bradshaw, you could say, oh, the crowd were booing him and blah, 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 and X, Y, Z, and, but I don't think people wanted to watch it. I remember the first time I saw Bradshaw as the champion, I'd seen this gimmick a little bit, and then I saw him as champion. And I remember distinctly that was one of the beginnings of when I tuned out of wrestling. You know, and yeah, I've seen moments where he has been a good talker. There's no doubt about it. He has some ability, but it just doesn't really matter. I thought he was better off in the APA, and that's the other thing about that gimmick as well that always bothered me because it was such a sharp contrast to the APA, which I kind of liked because of Farouk, Ron Simmons. I kind of like the APA because of him. And I was a big Ron Simmons fan from before. Like I like his stuff in the Nation. I like his stuff in WCW. So I always knew John Simmons was a hell of an athlete, and so I did like the APA a bit. And I always saw Bradshaw as cool in it. He had this, cigar jumping badass. He was like, there was a number of people trying to be another kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I hate those kind of imitations of people where you're not good at being yourself. You try and be a poor imitation of what's in at the time. So, that anyway, that gimmick didn't allow me to, conquer the world of singles wrestling. So he had to come up with another gimmick, which was just in such stark contrast. Um, that, and it definitely suited his personality, probably even more than the APA thing suits his personality. But it's just blasphemy. I don't know. It's it's one of those things I cannot put my finger on what it is with Bradshaw. I recognise he's talented on mic, but it doesn't matter because I never want to watch his matches. I never want to see him speaking. I just, heel or face, whatever it is. And it's not because of his obnoxiousness. It's not because he's good at being a heel. It's nothing to do with that. And you know how much I hate Triple H. I would rather spend the whole day watching Triple H promos than John Bradshaw Layfield. It just means more. I don't know. So that's my view on Bradshaw. I don't think I thought it was an awful thing to make him a champion for a year. The people who had to actually sit through and experience John Bradshaw Layfield for a year as champion, I feel utterly sorry for. But there are people who defend him, they swear by him. But I've seen a lot of his stuff since, and I'm not impressed. Thunderbolt Patterson, I believe this is one of the black dudes that definitely shouldn't be on the list. And there's a couple of African Americans, to be politically correct, the Americans who were watching, but there's a couple of black people, black guys, or African Americans who really should be on the list, who aren't on the list. So I don't know why they felt they need to put in um, these, just, Thunderbolt Patterson. Yeah, he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. He's one of these old wrestlers. Maybe he was a pioneer for what certain other black wrestlers did later, but to me, he's not top 50 material at all. And the fact that other wrestlers who I'll go into at the end are not on here, who are black wrestlers who should, by all rights, be on here, makes it even worse. That it's clearly just done to be politically correct. 41, The Miz. The Miz, the next three are going to be very, like, no, that's fine. I was going to say the next three are going to be controversial, that I know of. The next four are going to be controversial that I know of. The Miz, he doesn't deserve to be on this list. I like The Miz, but he doesn't deserve to be on this list at all. Not anywhere near. And that should go to show why I say certain people from the PG generation shouldn't be on the list. I think you have to have done something pretty amazing, to even be considered. And, he hasn't. He had a good heel run with The Rock. And what's the point? I mean, the thing is about this, right, is a lot of the times the WWE puts in these weird choices from the modern day as part of their greatest. You get Randy Orton on the list of the greatest of all time, and like on the higher end of the list of the greatest of all time, not even at the lowest spectrum. And it's because they're trying to sell their new talent. They're trying to say, okay, our new talent is equal to the guys from yesteryear who are so held on a pedestal by WWE fans like myself. But what's the point of putting the Miz on this list if you're not even going to run with him? You're not even doing anything with him. At least if you're going to like put him in an obnoxious position where everyone's going to be like, "What the fuck is the Miz doing on the list?" At least then, actually, if you're going to put out this propaganda, try and use the guy's talents. But he's just considered a joke right now, so I don't think there's anything that can be done about that. But The Miz was a great talker in his own right. Wanted to be The Rock, had some real great moments. I liked him with bloody hell, that guy's so buried, he's so gone. John Morrison. They made a great tag team and they were good with each other as talkers, and his fuel run was very, very underrated by the YWC. Afterwards, he just became a dork, and the rest is history. Kevin Sullivan, don't know. William Regal. William Regal does not deserve to be on the top 50 list in my opinion, just because his promos didn't really matter. I mean, they were good. Just doing a stereotypical English kind of person, and they were very good. And I like William Regal, great wrestler as well. But top 50 talkers of all time, I don't think so, considering some of the people who aren't on this list. People like William Regal can really make way for those who actually deserve to be on the list because it didn't build up to it. You see a promo of it. I mean, it doesn't build up to a match. It doesn't. It has no. It's not like a manager who's amping up a match. He didn't sell a match with his promos ever, ever, ever. I don't think. And he did some little comedy bits that worked. They didn't make me laugh out loud, but they were good enough. He was a good enough actor as well. It was believable to a degree when he's much better than some of the skits and some of the people who do skits these days. William Regal was tons better than them. But no, he's not a top 50 talker. And I think William Regal should have been given a push. I really like William Regal. Technical wrestler extraordinaire. Some of his best matches. I've never seen anyone do technical wrestling like that, and I really wish he had been given that push at some point. Even, yeah, just a meaningful push, because I thought he was really great. I thought he had something, and he did have a bit of charisma. So number 38, Taz definitely deserves to be on this list. I heard some people say Taz shouldn't. Just go back and look at his ECW stuff. Great talker. Um, but there was somebody who was his great sparring partner who should be on this list, who I'm going to get to. And I've now seen a lot more of his work, and he definitely deserves to be on this list. And I don't know why he is not, considering this seems to be one of the least. Well, it's controversial and uncontroversial at the same time. Is this because actually, for some bizarre reason, they're not just feeding me a load of bullshit. Um, like John Cena at number 3. Like they usually do for some bizarre reason. All right, so Taz, yeah, great, should be on the list. Number 37, Stephanie McMahon. I've seen a lot of people go off on this choice, and rightfully so. Uh, she is not a top 50 talker material. But I will give Stephanie McMahon this. Some people are going on like it's completely crazy, it's completely absurd, which it is. There's no doubt about it, it is. But Stephanie McMahon is a great talker. She is a great talker, like all the McMahons. Shane and, of course, Vince McMahon, all brilliant, brilliant talkers. And she could talk you into a wrestling match. There is no doubt about that. she had the ability to put you into a wrestling match, whether she was being someone's valet or she was, just being the heel character. Uh, she's also one of the greatest ballets of all time, easily up there. If you were going to go greatest top 10 ballets, she should be in the top five. Um, got so much heat on Triple H. Worked really, really well, and actually was quite funny with Kurt Angle, and a number of other people. I mean, the list goes on with who she's worked with and worked very well with. I don't get all this Stephanie McMahon hate that goes around the internet because I think she had a time where she was really good. It was almost just prior to the breast implants, and then once she got the breast implants, I don't know. Uh, I was never a big fan of her getting breast implants. I don't know. I hate that kind of stuff. I wouldn't get these kind of massive that look like clown breasts or whatever. But that's nothing to do with her talking. But yeah, she was good, and she could talk you into a wrestling that doesn't deserve to be on this list. Um, was she the greatest female talker? There's Mickey James. She was good. She was more of a good gimmick and a good character, Mickey James. Uh, Stephanie McMahon was definitely up there with female talkers as well. So you know, I don't think she deserves to be on here. So she'd be in like the top 150 talkers of all time. So 36 is Ernie Ladd. Don't know. 35, Kurt Angle. Now, this one is interesting. Obviously, people know how I feel about Kurt Angle. This is one of the greatest talkers of all time. I think he's highly underrated by the WWE and everything. But I will say this, that I am shocked he's even on this list. And it's a good sign that he's on this list. It's low, very, very low. He should be in the top 20, possibly even the top 15. Given unless somebody can give a compelling reason from people from older generations than myself, that I don't know of who are better than Kurt Angle. Because I must admit, I've come across people who are better than Kurt Angle from going into older generations before, you know. So we should be breaking the top 50, in my opinion, unless we can prove otherwise. Yeah, I'm surprised he's even on the list, and it's a good sign. Hopefully, there's a couple of things. I think the WWE is definitely trying to smooth things over with fans because of the network, and they're trying to be, I think, a little bit more realistic with this. I don't think Triple H is literally at the nose of, or like, handing out promotions to whoever puts in number five in, or number three in every list. Um, yeah, so I don't know what's going on. There's that, but then I think there's also the thing of the Ultimate Warrior. Maybe WWE is reflecting a bit, about just being so political about what, just rewriting history. So there's an element of it's still doing that, but it's not quite as bad. But really, so I'm surprised Kurt Angle made it. Bray Wyatt, haven't been following him, but I've heard a big buzz about him, and I want to kind of get into it a bit. Um, I like what I've seen of the promos of his. So it's good. 33, Ravishing Rick Rude. Yeah, great promo card. Absolutely fantastic. Definitely deserves to be on here. Again, I'd have him a bit higher, Ravishing Rick Rude. 34 Bray Wyatt, by the way, I should say. Again, it will take a lot for me to think that somebody of the PG generation who's just made it into the business deserves to be on this list so soon. That's all I said. Because I've heard good things about him. So Ravishing with Ruth, yeah, fantastic. Great work, great mic worker. definitely could talk people into the building because everyone wanted to kill him. And all the women wanted to, of course, see him. 32 Gary Hart, don't know him. 31 Ultimate Warrior, definitely deserves to be on here. I think that is about right for Ultimate Warrior. Possibly a few bits. I might put him a few places up depending on, you know, I'd have to look at, I'd have to look at talkers and then say, okay, well, yeah, okay, he's definitely better than Warrior. He's definitely better than Warrior because Warrior is definitely an acquired taste for older people or older fans. And it definitely has people split down the middle, but I just think it's memorable. I don't think you can really, I don't think people really want to switch off an Ultimate Warrior promo. They might think that was weird, but they never want to go, they never want to change the channel when Ultimate Warrior is speaking. That for me is a good promo because then it sells the match. Because then you're finding out information about the match, who's facing them, etc., etc., even if it's in a garbled manner. Um, so yeah, I think Ultimate Warrior is possibly about right, actually, maybe higher. Michael Hayes, 30, yeah, big spot. Michael Hayes, very big speaker. Nick Bockwinkel, a bit before my time, but yeah, he's a big speaker. Uh, he is, but he's just a bit before my time. 28 Raven, yeah, excellent. Again, one of the surprises that I find on the list. Really, I'm quite shocked by some of the people that they're finding on this list. Raven definitely deserves to be on there because ECW is usually buried. Raven deserves to be higher, by the way, not only just on there but higher. And ECW always gets buried, and I'm glad to see Raven on there. 27, Jesse the Body Ventura deserves to be higher, great talker. 26, Jerry the King Lawler, in my personal opinion, deserves to be higher. He's very, very great talker. And, he's ruining his legacy a bit by, by his commentating now. But back in yesteryear, great color commentator along with the brilliant JR. Um, And also, as a wrestler, even he was a great talker. He was a fantastic talker as a wrestler. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, he sold out a load of shows and had some very, very great ideas in the Memphis region, which were before their time, really, really a lot before their time. The things he did, who he had with Andy Kaufman is one of the most brilliant foods you will ever see in wrestling. If you ever get a chance to have a look at what those guys did together. I wish they did a DVD on that. It was really amazing. I mean, you can obviously see it in the Andy Kaufman film. It's not quite the same because it's not just about that feud. Um, so Jerry the King Lawler is one of the great talkers, without a doubt. And Bruce Blitz, all due respect to Bruce Blitz team, I know Jerry the King Lawler didn't like ECW, but let's not lie about the guy's talent. Just because he didn't like ECW, a lot of people didn't like ECW. It's just a matter of taste. I mean, you don't have to just pretend that the guy wasn't funny and the guy wasn't, amazing on the mic. He was amazing on the mic. Number 25, $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, Senior. Oh yeah, okay. Because there's a new DiBiase. I was thinking, what? There was $1 million man, Ted DiBiase before $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. Yeah, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase definitely deserves to be on this list. I actually think a bit lower. I think the $1 million man's gimmick was more what got him over, and the way he played his gimmick than anything he said on the mic. And that's not taking anything away from him. He had a lot of physical comedy to what he did. There was the laugh, obviously, which was great. Also, I don't see how he really talked people into wrestling matches as well. It didn't build up any feuds. There was no, it was just like little comedy skits. It's like the guy I was saying before, who was it? Um, William Regal. It was kind of like that. A bit better than William Regal, obviously, because at least there was some aspects in it that he built up matches, but not really. I mean, most of the stuff he did that was memorable, like kicking the ball away from the kid or whatever, didn't involve talking one. It was more physical comedy, and he was good at it. I'm not gonna lie. And then secondly, some of his vignettes, obviously restricted, and then the matches, the actual build up to matches. I don't remember much of that from $1 Million Man. I might be wrong, but I think he's a great talker, but not so others who've come lower should be higher. Kurt Angle definitely should be higher than $1 Million Man. For instance, New Jack should be higher, Raven should be higher. Um, Ravishing Rick Rude could be higher than $1 Million Man. Um, yeah, yeah. Ultimate Warrior should be higher than $1 Million Man. Um, so Terry Funk definitely should be up there. I didn't follow a lot of his career, but yeah, I know I've seen some of his promos and he's amazing. Shawn Michaels shouldn't be at 23. Number 20, sorry, 24 Terry Funk, 23 Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels shouldn't be on this list. Or if he should be on this list, he should be like 45. Charisma, yes. Any list of the most charismatic wrestler needs Shawn Michaels in the top 10. As one of the greatest talkers, nah, nah. Uh, he was good in the fact that people cared about Shawn Michaels, so they listened because of he was good at what he did. It wasn't that they listened first, and he was good. He was good. He deserves to be on here, and I guess it's a split thing, but definitely not 23 and above some. He shouldn't be above Terry Funk, for instance. I know that for a fact. He shouldn't be above Terry Funk. Shouldn't be above Jesse the Body Ventura. Jesse the Body Ventura is infinitely a better speaker than Shawn Michaels. Infinitely. Um, yeah, not sure about that one. 22 Harley Race. But again, one thing I'll say about Shawn Michaels, I'm surprised he's so low on the WWE list. Shawn Michaels is number 4, 5, 6, everything. Greatest of all time, apparently. Greatest wrestler of all time. Absolute nonsense. I'm never going to go with that. Shawn Michaels. I think Bret Hart's a better wrestler than Shawn Michaels. I think a lot of people are better wrestlers. I mean, he's amazing at what he can do, but so are a lot of people. It's just this kind of aura that the WWE. I mean, if WWE did that about anyone who was a good wrestler, I think you could get that same aura that Shawn Michaels has around it. They could do that about Macho Man. They could do that about Ricky Steamboat. They could do that about any of the great wrestlers and just say, "Oh no, but he was just the total package. This was the total utter." Was he really? Shawn Michaels wasn't the greatest talker in the world. All right. Um, a lot of time his gimmicks are kind of like not that funny. He's trying to be funny, and I think there's a reason why people like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock have stood out as transcendent stars above Shawn Michaels. There's a reason for that. They were better, at least at the entertainment aspect. So I don't know. I don't know. Shawn Michaels. All right. 22 Harley Race. Um, I don't think Harley Race should be on this list. I honestly don't. I think he's highly overrated. Maybe he could talk people into the buildings. I don't know how they didn't just fall asleep listening to it. But he definitely had a realism to him, if that's what you mean. I definitely wouldn't have fucked with him back in the day. from the way he spoke, but that doesn't make you a great talker, really. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so number 21, Edge. Everyone knows I think Edge is slightly overrated as a talker, but I actually think 21 is okay for him if certain people come above him. Um, Edge had his moments. I think the one thing that I always take from Edge is that he didn't make it when the pool was full of sharks. He made it when all the sharks had left. And, you know, people like John Cena were left around. And yeah, everyone's going to have a lot of charisma in comparison to John Cena. And you could probably, yeah, you know, I didn't see all of it. I watched that Edge DVD recently, recently, which is great. Always loved the guy. You know, the guy himself is cool. There's no problem with the Edge, the person. What's his name? Copeland. I can't remember his first name now. There's no problem with him himself. It's to do, yeah, he's a great guy. It's to do with the character. I thought the gimmick with him and, you know, for the benefit of flash photography, I always thought the acting was pretty bad in that with him and Christian. I have to say, he was not one of the best actors in that role with Christian. Um, he didn't come off natural. It came off fake. Like, this is a wrestling show. It took me out of, you know, the element of, you know, like, you know, for instance, even Triple H would come out and do a promo, and it didn't take you out of the fact it was a wrestling show. You just hate the character Triple H, you know, for being boring and whatever. But it was like there was some naturalism to it. It wasn't. It didn't seem like there was. Yeah, it's like when you watch a soap opera. You know, when you watch one of those bad soap operas, that's how Edge's and Christie's acting was to be. And it looks as if he got better in the Ruthless Aggression era, but not that much better. I've never. It was almost like trying to be funny. I think if I showed clips of Edge to people who weren't into wrestling, they wouldn't find it funny. And that's how I often judge in, you know, the criteria. I can show The Rock anybody on, you know, with a sense of humor, and they'll find The Rock funny. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I can show them, and they're natural about it as well. So yeah, I mean, basically Edge. You know, I think 21's a nice spot, maybe a bit below. Captain Lou Albano, and here's exactly what we're talking about. Now, Captain Lou Albano is amazing. Okay, that's a guy who's good at fucking promos. Go back to him, and then you listen to Edge, and then you think, okay, there's a disconnect. Uh, Captain Lou Albano is incredible. Definitely deserves his place on the list. There's somebody who deserves a place as a manager. A manager who was a wrestler who deserves it more than Captain Lou Albano, who I believe Lou Albano probably picked up his style from. So I'm very surprised that this guy isn't on the list because he was a great talker as a wrestler and a great talker, you know, as a manager. Amazing people. I think one of the most underrated managers of all, the most underrated manager of all time, because he was on par with Bobby Heenan. And I'll get to that when we finish and we say who should be on the list, who isn't. Number 19, Triple H. Triple H. This is shocking to me. I'm shocked Triple H isn't in the top 15. I'm shocked. Um, Many people may be surprised by what I say here. I think that's an alright spot for Triple H. He could be lower. I mean, lower down, you know, 20, in the 20s. But I think that is an okay list depending on again who you put in front of him. Sorry, an okay number depending on who you put in front of him. Now, Triple H has a lot of talent. I've always said it. The guy has a lot of talent. Just does not know how to use it. He doesn't know what's important. He was guided by some, at a young age, by somebody who really is one of the most awful influences to get with a wrestler. He probably already has a bit of an ego anyway in Triple H, and that was Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels gave him a terrible example of how to treat the wrestling business. And I think people would love Triple H a lot more if he had cut short promos. He could have been like, okay, this is a really good part of the promo. This is a really good part of that promo. This is a really, why don't I cut all this shit in the middle and just put these three parts together and leave it at that? You know, some people would come out and say something, cut promos in the Attitude Era that lasted 1 minute long that said a lot more and were a lot better than Triple H and his 15-minute, 20-minute clip, to completely take over the viewpoint. Um, and, about his recent work as well, I really am starting to vibe with Triple H's recent work on the mic. I think he's been very, very good in trolling the YWC, and he's ended the matches in the right way. Now, do I think this justifies or legitimizes? Am I going to, if a Triple H fan turns around to me and goes, see, look, he put over Daniel Bryan, which I've got a lot of in my messages. No, because it doesn't take away from the fact that he's fucked up the careers of people who, in my estimation, are even better than Daniel Bryan. He's stopped and clipped the momentum. Okay? So, no, I'm never, ever am I going to be okay with Triple H. I've always said that I'm always going to have the same opinion. Always said the guy has a lot of talent, uses it in the wrong way, uses it to bury people, breaks kayfabe on the mic, spends too long on the mic as if everything that comes to his head is interesting and worth, circulating or airing to the world. Uh, he's just not, he's not necessarily the best worker in the ring. Very, very boring matches. Has he not had a great match? As Bret Hart said, no, that's not true. He's had great matches. But is he overrated by the WWE? Should he have that many championships? No, and especially for the damage he did to people's career, so as to keep those, championship reigns. And in his continued presence in the PG era, sure he's listened to people after overwhelmingly, thousands upon thousands of people have been telling him the same thing. You're shit. You're not as great as you think you are. Suddenly he's acknowledging it, and now he's acknowledging it. He's doing some of his best work. Now he's, I think maybe it might have humbled him a bit, the YWC, and he can see how people feel about him and what he did with Stephanie. I think, and what he did in 2002 to, 2006 during his reign of terror. I think a lot of people, yeah, I think now he can see that. Now the internet is so available because the WWE definitely listen to the YWC. It's without a doubt. It's probably the only entertainment industry that really does, which is peculiar because it's the most out of touch entertainment industry as well. So at one and the same time, it listens to its fans, but just is, almost in spite, like, oh, because and I don't understand that. Because clearly, I don't know, like, Brock Lesnar beating the streak. I mean, that kind of booking couldn't have been imagined 2 years ago, or 5 years ago. Just that kind of booking. That kind of booking actually makes sense. So there's something going on with the WWE, and I think they're doing this with the YWC. I think it comes through to them somehow. I don't know, maybe through their writers or through their staff who listen to broadcasts of shows and stuff like that. John Cena definitely listens. I mean, he's always talking about like turning heel or whatever. So they definitely listen, or maybe it's from people always asking them questions via interviews with the media and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but they definitely do listen to YWC, or at least hear what we're saying. I'm not saying they listen to us and act on what we're saying, but they hear what they hear of what we're saying about the product. Definitely. So yeah, now Triple H has started listening. He's actually becoming better, and I think he's done some of his best heel work recently. Very, very recently. 18, Macho Man Randy Savage. Uh, I mean, I don't know what the fucking deal is with Macho Man, but like obviously everyone knows he should be in the top five. Everyone and their mother knows Macho Man Randy Savage should be in the top five of nearly every fucking category of an aspect of an individual performer. Randy Savage should be in the top five. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the most memorable, enduring characters in wrestling history, and largely because of his promos. So how can he not be in the top five? He's almost synonymous with wrestling in the way that Hulk Hogan is synonymous with wrestling. He's one of the first wrestlers casual fans would think of when they think of wrestling when they were growing up. So for him to not break the top five is crazy for me. Definitely, Macho Man should be in the top five, top 10 at least. 17, Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette does deserve to be there. 16, CM Punk. CM Punk deserves to be on this list, kind of. Um, breaks kayfabe a lot, so I don't know how hard that is to do. I'm breaking kayfabe right now. If I came on a wrestling show and then cut this promo where I'm just talking about what I actually think of the real people behind the wrestling characters, would I become one of the 50 greatest talkers? I don't know, but he's good at what he does, and it's entertaining. It definitely was entertaining. He can, openly wash the WWE's laundry for us to all hear. I didn't always agree with his thoughts, especially on The Rock and stuff like that, kind of turned me against him. But certainly, him having the balls to step up to McMahon and Triple H and John Cena was entertaining stuff. Definitely was entertaining. Number 15, Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson is a fucking great talker. Great talker. He's one of my favorite promos ever. He's just an ass kicker, but he had some great lines. So yeah, he deserves to be on it. 14, Superstar Billy Graham deserves to be on it. Surprised again, WWE of even putting him on it because he's a bit of a son of a bitch. Real life. Number 13, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon definitely deserves to be in the top 15 of all time. I'm putting squarely at 15, I reckon. So yeah, he was fantastic. Fantastic on the mic. Sell a match like nobody fucking else. Really, really great. People call him a genius promoter. I'm not so sure about that. I think he had very, very good talent at the right time and made it to work. Uh, I think he was just lucky to have them. One thing video that I wanted to do is a video on whether I'm a fan of the Attitude Era, which I might do next. I am not, and I'll explain, but I'm going to say I'm not a fan of the Attitude Era. Above the Rock and Wrestling era at all. Um, if it was between Rock and Wrestling and the Attitude Era, I like Rock and Wrestling much more with Hulk Hogan and Savage, and, you know, the Dollar Man and Mr. Perfect, etc., etc., uh, and Rowdy Piper and stuff like that. Um, and I'll explain why, because I think it's talent that put over the Attitude Era, certain talent that put over the Attitude Era, not the whole direction. You know, without certain characters, the Attitude Era would have not been any. I think WWE would have gone under without certain characters who came about in the Attitude Era. John Cena 12 is a fucking joke. Shouldn't be on the list. Shouldn't be on the list. I'm not going to go into it, but he shouldn't be on the list. Dr. Bidenomics did it relatively entertaining, but didn't make me want to watch the program. Um, and yeah, just shouldn't be on the list for everything he's done since over the last 10 years. Okay. Can be a good talker when he breaks kayfabe, much like CM Punk. Again, my argument: how difficult is that to say this is what I think of you, not this is what I think of your character? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. It's a wrestling show with characters, not the people who inhabit the characters are mere actors. You know, way back. Uh, what's his name? Uh, wait, okay. Bray Wyatt isn't, the actual character. But, I'm sure he's just a normal guy in real life. Same with the Undertaker. If you're gonna, attack the Undertaker on a TV show, you should be attacking the character. You should be attacking Mike Calloway. So that is when John Cena does his most interesting work, when he's spitting vitriol about the actual person. And I don't count that as big promo cutting, really, in my estimation, although it was entertaining this year, but their back and forth was really entertaining. And he held his own, which just goes to show uh, the fact that he held his own against CM Punk. He was supposed to be this witty and whatever kind of person. It just goes to show how really easy it is to break kayfabe. And just, you see it all the time. You go to kayfabe interviews with the wrestlers, on the internet. And if they cut those promos on a WWE show, everyone would be talking about them. But you're not supposed to. You're supposed to cut promos on the character. Number 11, Jake the Snake Roberts, definitely. Some may say he should be higher. I think he probably should, but only by a few. Only by a few. I can think of quite a number who I'd say are better than Jake the Snake Roberts, but he's fucking amazing. 10, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho again, guy who I wasn't a massive fan of in the Attitude Era. But watching the PG era, you just come to the think, oh my god, these guys were amazing. You start with Chris Jericho was just incredible in comparison. The entertainment value of Chris Jericho was far, far more than most of the people you find in the PG era. Number 9, Hulk Hogan. Uh, yeah, definitely should be up there. I think 9 is a great spot. Possibly, he needs to be in the top 15. Hulk Hogan. Great promo captain. Number 8, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Great spot. Good spot for Bobby. Considering he wasn't a wrestler, he was just a manager. That's a great spot. He was one of the great talkers. Number 7, Mick Foley. Fantastic spot for Mick Foley. Good to see him get his dues because he is an amazing, amazing talker. And he doesn't get his dues half enough as he should. Number six, Paul Heyman. Um, I don't know. I think people get caught up in the fact that Paul Heyman was behind ECW and they kind of overrate him. But I think Mick Foley's a better talker than Paul Heyman, easily. You look back at his promos in ECW, you look at his promos with The Rock, easily more entertaining than Paul Heyman, has ever been. That program that The Rock and Mankind worked together as their feud was one of the best ever, and it was both guys doing a great job. Um, I think that's probably The Rock's second best feud after Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um, because the sparring back and forth with them on the mic was just golden. So yeah, I think if Mick Foley can stand up there with The Rock and make and make a good showing, and then be in a tag team as well, and equally be like as as good, then yeah, you should be in the top 10, and it's good that he is. Dusty Rhodes, American Dream, yeah, fantastic. Number 5, good spot for him, great spot for him. Stone Cold Steve Austin, yeah, at number 4. I think he should be equal with The Rock. Whatever way you look at it, he should be equal with The Rock. So, yeah, number 4 is a good spot for them. Rowdy Piper. Rowdy Piper was really good on the mic, but I think he's overrated a bit by the WWE. I think he should be lower down. He should be in the top 15, yeah, sure. Number 2, The Rock. Yeah, I think I've got The Rock and Stone Cold as number 2 on my own list of the greatest talkers. So yeah, easily The Rock is. Yeah, there's so many promos that are just fantastic of The Rock. The Rock could be number 1. The Rock and Stone Cold could be number 1, arguably. The Rock, Stone Cold, and Mankind could be number 1 together because of originality and what they did, in the Attitude Era is brilliant. And number 1 is Ric Flair. Fantastic talker, and I don't argue with that. Some people are saying that The Rock should be above him. I can see their argument for that. I definitely can. But in the end, Ric Flair, there is no Rock without Ric Flair, really. So he was the originator of, the initial Rock gimmick when he first came out as The Rock and was, with $2,000 shirts and all of that stuff, which was probably some of his best mic work, apart from Hollywood Rock. Um, you know, was, yeah, that was a new, it's a new improved maybe version of Ric Flair, but there was a lot of Ric Flair elements to that character, so there is no Rock without Ric Flair. Ric Flair, he was kind of on the way. Fantastic. The people who are arguing he shouldn't be that, number 1 are probably people who have been, you know, exposed to him more recently as he's become older and he's just so full of himself, and full of, his achievements and all of that kind of shit. And he says stupid stuff on a regular basis. Not that intelligent a guy, but clearly he's great mic worker. So who do I think is missing from this list? The guys I think are missing, Booker T should be on this list. Some of the black guys they have on the list, I think Booker T. And Junkyard Dog was actually a very, very good speaker. Got a bit dialed down when he went to the WWE, but he was a great talker when he was in the South. And he just had a lot of charisma about him. Um, but if I were to pick between JYD against Rob Dog, and which he would definitely have he was entertaining as all hell, and definitely should make it onto any acceptable list of the top 50, especially if you're going to put someone like Stephanie McMahon on. And, to be fair, also about Stephanie McMahon, if Stephanie McMahon goes on, then really, really, truly speaking, Shane McMahon should be on. Because he's better on the mic than she was. Um, much better if not. And then also, with his ring work as well. To kind of cap it off, he's just a crazy son of a bitch in the ring. Um, so yeah, so if I was to choose a black, African American, if I wanted to make my list PC, why not go with somebody that actually really, really deserves to be on there? New Jack deserves to be on there, but so did Booker T. Amazing to me that Booker T is on this. Then from ECW, glad to see that they're actually acknowledging the ECW characters because there's lots of great people in ECW days. And one of the ones saying is clearly he was one of the best mic hookers of all time, best on the mic was the franchise Shane Douglas. Why was he on this list? Well, easy to get on this list. And then we have who else? Mr. Perfect wasn't on that list, which again is bizarre. I think someone just forgot to put him on there. Should have been in the latter part, like the top 15 to 40. Mr. Perfect, I would put in the greatest of all time, possibly a bit higher. Uh, and the biggest omission for me, especially if you're going to have Captain Lou Albano, who probably took most of his mic work skills from this guy, was, of course, Classy Freddie Blassie, one of the best of all time mic workers, easily. Before Ric Flair, before The Rock, before, a lot of these kind of like slick, great humor kind of guys was Classy Freddie Blassie, and he was the originator of that stuff. And what a mic worker, what a great speaker. So yeah, listen, and apart from some of the old guys they put on, I listened to some some of their promos and oof, absolutely awful. So Classy Freddie Blassie, somebody who just needs to be on the list. I mean, and really, when it comes down to it, in the top 15, because I think Classy Freddie Blassie, if I'm not wrong, may have been the first great sick man. They talk about the first great heel and George and stuff like that. So that's what that entrance music. So they often talk about originators in this sport. So, in wrestling. So if you're going to do that, I don't know why Classy Freddie Blassie isn't seen as the originator of Stickman, the first real Stickman, the first man who thought, I can really get people going by what I say on the mic, and really create a character out of that rather than just creating a character in the ring. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I think it's a bad list, but it's surprisingly good for the WWE. By WWE standards, this is an amazing list because it actually has people that should be on here, and it's recognizing the work that they did, and not just politically, by making stupid things like having Shawn Michaels in top 15 talkers of all time and stuff like that. So, good list. And no, not good list. Okay list considering it's WWE. I'm surprised. So that's my talk on this. Hopefully, if I get some views then and some likes, then I will do a couple more videos in the next couple of days. Thanks for listening. Bye. Oh, and like and subscribe and comment.